Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Diving in Deep with Manny. I am super excited and I am smiling ear to ear because I have one of my favorite people in the diving community on the call here. And he doesn't really need much of an introduction because he is his own person and we're going to run through this and have a good time. So, Max, go ahead and say hello.
Hello, my podcast people. For any of you that don't know me, I was a diver at Purdue not so long ago. I am a little gay makeup artist, so I'm living my dreams out in San Francisco, and I'm very excited to be joining my good friend Manny today.
And I love that because a big thing on my team is we talk about is authenticity and being comfortable with being yourself in front of other people. So I think you are a great person who did that, and I think you honestly inspire more people than you think you do. So I am so happy to have you here. I don't think you really know.
I'm girl. Honestly, I'm ready. I'm ready to see these Chinese divers. I'm ready to critique them. I'm ready to point out all of their flaws.
Okay, so me and Max go way back. We're gonna have a good time. And we're just inviting you. We're gonna have a good time with or without you watching this. So just because we both love this sport so much, so let's just like hop into it and just go from here. Do you still do YouTube, don't you?
Oh yeah, I am. I took a little break when I moved out to San Francisco. I took a little time to get settled in the working world, but I'm actually like back up and running. The apartment has been rearranged. We have a whole studio, so I'm on YouTube as well. You can catch me on all socials.
I was actually popping off on your Instagram the other day, and I actually feel bad now because I was on your All Eyes on Max Instagram page,
Yes,
and I ran through it all, and I didn't like a single thing.
that is fine. That's fine.
But know that I was definitely like, yeah, I was like 100%. Like this is so cool.
Right, you just were not giving me the virtual love. I see how it is.
That is actually my biggest flaw is I will easily look at someone's picture and be like, oh, that's a great picture, and I'll just scroll right through it. Never like it, and I'm like, I gotta start like liking stuff more. But anyway, so recap after the last round, we have the Olympic champion in first place with 380. Second is just no, I'm the world champion's in first at 380. The Olympic champion is 73 points back. It's gonna be an interesting round to see if he can catch, make that up because, in high level diving, it's still possible, but like it's gonna be, the the guy in first probably gonna have to
That's
miss.
so bad for sure.
The guy in first is gonna have to miss, and the guy in third is gonna have to kill the next dive, and then they're, gonna that might be the energy for the next round. But we're gonna just go ahead and see what happens because I've seen crazier things happen in this sport, and that's why it's so fun.
10 meters so high energy that like you and I have both felt this, whether it be at like Big Tens or NCs. You start out that first two rounds and you're like, oh, I'm feeling good. Like first two dives, great, and then that next dive hits and you're like, I'm in 16th.
That's the round three energy that I was talking about in the last video. Okay, this should be a front 109. Oh, okay. What do you think?
His feet, like I know the Chinese do this. They keep their feet flexed in the air. I'm not a big fan of that, but like direction was great. Head position's pretty solid. Like finishes high, just a little bit over, but he sucks it down really quickly.
I think that's also really interesting because a lot of people kind of run to this position, and I'm like, this is incorrect. Like,
Right.
I think if you're gonna do a split tuck, I think you need to make sure that your other flaws are covered, so that it's not as obvious and it's not distracting. And I feel like this might be one that's distracting with the flat feet. And the way I teach the tuck is the thigh muscles here. I mean, whatever muscle that is should be touching right along. I don't know what that is, but right
shoulder blade, like pectoral area.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I feel like he's kind of struggling to get in that position, and kind of makes him look like this is a hard dive to complete, which you got to keep in mind. The judges are looking at that. If you make the dive look easy, they're going to give you really high scores. But I don't know if this dive looked easy.
No, even like his head position, like I could see it. Obviously, you're spinning, but like I could see it was hard.
Yes, and just even that is enough to not give it a perfect score.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have a 307 here. I I like this diver a lot because he's so skinny, where he just has to touch the water and he's gonna like just like rip it. But he is doing some easier dives, so we'll see. I don't know.
307 being an easier dive.
Isn't that the T?
Right.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Well, honestly, like, easy, clearly not for him.
So, okay, what do you think? You go ahead, because people hear about me all the time.
The takeoff seemed fine. It just seemed like he got, like, not, like, anxious. He just got, like, overly excited, I think, because his takeoff seemed pretty solid. He just got a little too anxious and came out early.
I'm actually going to disagree with that.
Okay, so tell me your cheat.
So I actually thought the takeoff was really tight, meaning like, oh my
Like,
god.
tight to the tower?
No, not tight. I mean, well, I did say tight, so yes, tight, but in a different sense.
Oh, okay, I see it now.
Like, I feel like his shoulder, like, you see how his shoulders look really tight here? I'm like,
Yeah.
he like locked it up right here, and I feel like that might
Yeah,
just
his
be a
knees coming up
product.
early, too. You're right.
That might be a product of like him muscling it, and his, his connection wasn't really ideal. But I mean, the biggest thing is he still finishes it really high. He just kind of like let it go short, which a lot of people kind of do. They're just like, oh, well, I guess I'm done. But like, I think fixing. If I was the coach, I would fix the takeoff a little bit more and feel a little more flexibility in the shoulders, so he can get a better connection and finish it higher.
Yeah, no, that's good that you pointed that out too, because he connected at like the 3/4 of the somersault. Like it took him so long to get into it, even though he was like cheating his knees up.
Yes. It's like I always think it's so awkward when people cheat and still don't make it.
Right.
Which like happens a lot. I'm like, oh, like you cheated and you still didn't make it. Like that's so awkward to me. Anyway,
Right.
Olympic champion, 1-0, front 4.5. He's down by 70 points, so it's got to be good. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts. I thought takeoff actually was good. It looked short to me, but that like a hair short.
Yes,
That might be the angle.
maybe so. And I actually really appreciate this tuck position because I don't think people talk about it enough. But this is like a safe tuck position, meaning like it's like a happy medium.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what tuck do you do? Do you do like an outrageous? Like which one do you do? Because you still dive.
I do like an arrow. Like my toes would stay touched together, but I would try and like pull my knees in. Adam was not a big fan of cowboying. Even like when he would pull us in belts, he would like tell us to put our feet together.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think. Like you look at the Chinese, they're a really good example. They can do this big, like the gap between the heel and like their butt, and they can still have their knee into their chest and be spinning, and like it's technically correct, but it's aesthetically ugly. And like the thing that the Chinese can get away with because they have that really dirty rip is they can do that in the air and get away because they have that mind eraser rip. But like for anyone that isn't the Chinese and like tiny and compact, it's gonna look like lengthy and out of place.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and that's so interesting because your coach is considered extremely successful in the sport. So I'm like, that's so interesting because I think of people on your team who have had crazy tucks, and I think of my boy Steele, who's the same height as me, and I'm like, we have to do these outrageous tucks because we're not gonna make the dive.
Yeah, I mean, like even Steele on a 109, like I think that Steele's a good example of that. It looks like he splits his tuck, but you notice how like the space between his feet and his butt is so small.
Yes, maybe so, and maybe that's the secret.
I guess, but if I don't have the knee flexibility to be able to do that.
How do you work on that? Oh, that's actually something you can work on. I found out recently that you can work on your knee flexibility, and I was surprised.
How do you do it?
You have to I follow this guy on Instagram who's like an acrobat for like Cirque du Soleil or something, and he was showing some exercises on how you have to like hyperextend your knees in like a stretch for like a certain amount of time, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting, and it made perfect sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try it.
Anyway, so 9's on it, great, 99 points. So now the diver in first only needs 20 points to go into the lead. So we're gonna see. I mean, we know that Yang Jian does the 109B in the last round, so it's gonna be tough.
Oh, I'm excited.
We
That just gets my heart beating every time he does it.
and if you're not a diver, the 109B is probably the hardest dive I've ever done competitively, and he's like the Simone Biles of it. Like he kills it every single time. So, you know, he always has that to fall back on. He'll probably get, you know, if he does it well, he can get over 120 points. Oh,
Oh my god!
that was good.
That was really good, you could say. Oh my god.
Okay, initial thoughts.
Your initial thoughts. This is your show. But that was a really cheeky knee save. It looked like he was going over a little bit and he pulled those knees down real fast.
Honestly, I'm so impressed when people do that. I'm like,
I feel like you did that really well in your diving, Manny. Like, especially for being so long. Like, I would see you go through the water and I could, like, visibly see you knee save, and it was so cool.
well, that's so interesting to me because I've had people come up to me and be like, I saw your knee save, I didn't like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I feel like a lot of my scores were very, hold on, sorry. A lot of my scores were very, like people didn't know what to give me. Like, sometimes I'd get a 10, sometimes I'd get a 7.5, and I'm like, y'all be confused.
Honest to God, like, you can't judge someone, like, if you're naturally tall, like, Yona's a great example. You can see all of Yona Night Wisdom's knee saves. Like, he's a tall dude. That's what you're going to see when you go through the water because you're taller.
Well, 100%. Again, yes. I think if you can master that, it is only going to help. Anyway, so that's the end of the round. Let me just close this out. We have, oh my God, still a 70-point lead. So
it's locked down.
It is locked down because the world champion has his best dive last and the highest degree of difficulty dive last, and it is his best dive. So odds are he is gonna win this competition, and it's virtually impossible for the guy in second who's doing an easier dive. Even if he gets straight 10s on it, he can't get in front. So the real competition is between second and third to get those points to qualify for the Olympic team. So there's a 10-point difference. I'm sure they're both doing the same dive. So there's still a competition here. It's just not first and second. It's second and third. I mean, they're still vying for getting that spot. So still really exciting. I don't know. We're going to find out.
Are second and third ending on back 2.5?
100%.
Yes. And on that twister, go out with a bang.
Go out with a bang. And we know that the Olympic champion won the Olympics because he got straight 10s on this last dive. So he can do it well. But again, you never know. A lot of people mess up. The pressure still gets to a lot of these elite divers all the time, especially with a big meet like this. You never know what's going to happen. So stay tuned, and we'll catch you here on Friday. Okay.